All right. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to another Game Dev Daily. It's Game Dev Daily number 9, and it is January 14th. It's been a few days since my last one. Been a bit busy lately. Hoping to get into a bit more of a scheduled rhythm. Should be streaming tonight, the next couple nights at least. Fridays probably maybe, but we'll see. Okay. So last last stream we did a bit more tweaking on the Thorn spell. We did manage to get it actually firing, and we fixed up the rotational issues we were having with it in terms of locking the angle. So I think this stream I'm gonna look at the current issues we're seeing in regards to collision between not just the Thorn but all our projectile spells at the moment, and the like wall and floor game objects. So we're gonna try and fix those up. Hopefully resolve those issues, and I think that's the main goal to start, and we'll see if we can get all that done. I'll probably try and get an explosion going for the Thorn as well. We have got it doing damage, but yeah, we'll see if we can do a bit better than that. Okay, so let's hop on in to Unity. I'm gonna just start by just taking a quick look, make sure that I'm remembering where our progress is at the moment. Another thing I could look at is probably fixing up some of these spells that are now no longer using, that need to be swapped out to fixed update if they're not already. But let's start by attempting to fire. So we'll try and fire the Thorn upwards. We can see it gets stuck in the floor. It also doesn't stop where I would expect it to stop, so I might try and fix that as well. But for the time being, it's fine. I'll leave it. And we should be able to fire it at these guys too, which we can see it gets stuck. Now, this is not throwing any error in my console. However, I do... Maybe I should try enabling a different... Oh, another thing we're going to have to do as well is try and add a delay on the Thorn spell too. Okay. So there's some stuff we can work on, but let's start by just enabling a different spell first, I think. So I'm gonna pull open Visual Studio, go into our player script if I can find it. Scripts. Where are we? Enemy particles, projectiles. I actually have a particle script. Anything interesting in here? Okay, I don't know. I'll take a look at it a bit more later, I guess. Where are my play scripts? It's just the base. Yep, there it is. Okay. Give us just a sec. And we will... just fix up. We'll get the code on screen in just a moment. Here we are. Cool. Okay, so... what did I want to look at first? Oh, yeah, the first thing I wanted to do is just try adding Pea Shooter. So I'm going to get rid of the chain spell and just put Pea Shooter on instead, because I was seeing the same issue with the Pea Shooter spell when I fired the Pea Shooter into walls. So we're going to lead with that. So I believe Pea Shooter was, yeah, it's just pausing like this. So similar to what we see with the Thorn, where it just kind of gets stuck. Same thing's happening. In this case, though, with the Pea Shooter, I do actually get null reference exceptions. So we're going to take a look at those. So collision.gameObject.getComponent entity.takeDamage. So what's happening here is we are trying to have the enemy take damage. Or I guess in this case, it's the wall, right? So it's the wall that our thing's colliding with, and it's tagged with terrain, so it does collide. However, we try to get the entity component attached to the wall to make the wall take 2 damage, and obviously we shouldn't be doing that. So what we actually need to be doing is probably just have some nested if statements here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out. I'm going to check if we're terrain, and then I'll also do a check to see if we're enemy. And if we're enemy, we will take damage. Otherwise, we'll just destroy the object. So pretty straightforward. So we'll pop back over here now. We should see these null references disappear, hopefully. Yeah, and we can see that our bullets are correctly disappearing, as we would expect. Okay, not disappearing when they hit the enemies, interestingly. And not only that, but not doing damage either. So I need to figure out what's going on there. Also, the hitbox on these are really weird. I wonder if it's just that one. Looks like it's just that one. Okay, so let's take a look at these dummy objects. I want to start with this one. This one's hitbox seemed very strange. Sprite. Although here it looks fine. Yeah, weird. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try just deleting it and copy-pasting a different dummy and dragging it down. So I'll do that. Maybe I'll put it close to the ground, this one. Okay, and then what we're seeing here is that they are not working properly. So this dummy has the enemy tag, and the game object underneath it, which is the sprite, doesn't have a tag, which is fine. The dummy itself does have a tag. Look at that hitbox. Why is that so out of whack? Hold on a second. Okay, I must have moved it on accident. Wait, what? Hold on. Let me just undo this a bunch. Oh, I think I dragged the sprite on accident, maybe? Yeah, I did. Okay. So grab the full dummy. I moved the dummy without... Oh, I moved the sprite without moving the dummy. Okay, let me replay. So, okay, now it's correctly firing at least, so that's a good start. Okay, what we are seeing, though, is... Oh, that's really weird. Okay, it's like there's a hitbox here from a different dummy, is what it looks like. So I'm going to just quickly flick over them all. Yeah, it's this one. Oh, this dummy doesn't even have anything under it. Okay, I'm going to delete that. And I'll just delete the others. That must have been what it was colliding with then. It must have been colliding with the empty dummy there. Okay, I'll leave it like that. So, what is going on? On become invisible, destroy. So it looks like we're not even hitting... Oh, of course. Okay. So the issue here is, if I don't hit the enemy, it's not working, right? So if I hit... Okay, what I actually needed to have in here was, if I hit terrain or enemy, then we should be running the code that destroys the object. But we only have the entity take damage if it's tagged enemy. Like this. We alternatively could have it be an if-else-if statement. If checking for terrain, destroy game object, and an else-if enemy, do both. That might be... It's probably a bit more efficient, actually. Yeah, let's do that instead. So we'll do if, else-if. If we really want to reduce the code redundancy here, we could... we could have a function, but I mean, we're calling a function anyway to destroy the game object. That's the repeated code part. So, okay, that's all we have to do. So if it's terrain, destroy the object, and if it's enemy, have the entity take 2 damage and then destroy the object. Pretty straightforward. We're just getting the right scenarios happening for the right objects, and now we can see it is working as intended, so nice. If I can actually, you know, shoot. Alright, and we'll try the Thorn as well. We'll see if this works. Okay, so I don't know if it took any damage. Doesn't look like it, and it's not destroying the object either. So, let's take a look at the Thorn's projectile. So, I have a similar thing here, so I do have to fix it up. We're basically going to copy the same structure as this. And we want to make it take damage 40 instead. 40 instead of 2. So we're going to try copying that, see how this looks. Considering it's not destroying in terrain either. Yeah, what I'm guessing is that it's not even destroying the script still here. It doesn't even destroy the object. That's really weird. Okay, so doesn't appear to be working at all. So we need to figure out what's going on. Our Thorns do have the Thorn script attached to them. And then on collision enter 2D. Oh, maybe this is why they have a rigid body on them. I guess this is why, because it makes use of this on collision enter function. Okay. Oh, there we go. Finally got an explanation as to why I had those. It's just me being a little, rusty with Unity. So we're just going to add, we have a circle collider 2D. We're also going to put on a rigid body 2D to go with it. And I think I don't do anything else with it. I just leave it on. It's just going to handle check and collision, and that's literally it. Yeah, and then I think we're good. Okay. So let's try running this. Oh, I'm actually not showing that. There we go. We've just added the rigid body on the right over here, as we can see. The Thorn object previously didn't have it, but now we've put it on. So we've... Whoa! Okay, it's got gravity, so let's stop removing that. Mass 0. None of this. I guess, what was this? 1? That's fine. Collision detection, discrete, yada, yada, yada. So probably what I should do is figure out a different function for handling collision checking. But it is working at the very least. And we can see it disappears extremely quickly. Just due to the fact that it's moving so damn fast. So I should be able to, like, snipe one of these guys. Okay, and it's just working. Which is sick. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have it do like a big explosion, I think. Which is, we're pretty much just going to copy straight from the Fireball script. So we'll just copy a similar thing. We might make a separate, what's the word I'm looking for? Particle explosion for it. So let's first take a look at the Fireball projectile, which is here. Okay, so the Fireball projectile, when does it collide here? If collisions enemy do this and terrain do... So I am actually differentiating between between enemy and terrain on this one. And I don't know, is there any difference between the two? Is my next question. It looks like they're exactly the same, no? Oh, one of them has damage taken. Oh, okay. So in this script, I just already did the if-else if properly. The other ones I hadn't. I'm just going to match it by having terrain go first. That's the only thing I want to do. But otherwise, it is working as intended. That's not what you put the else, as it turns out. It goes here. Okay. Otherwise, it looks great. And then what we do is we instantiate an explosion. Instantiate explosion, and that is particles Fireball explosion. Now, worth noting that this instantiation of this Fireball explosion particle system is the actual correct usage of a particle system. So most of the time when you're using particles in Unity, and this is technically, it doesn't, not like a strict rule, and you can use particles to make graphics in the way that I've been doing here, but typically particles are just visual effects and they don't actually like have collisions or hitboxes or anything, and you don't really make them into objects in Unity. Typically what you're going to do is, like, when I fire my gun, I might like shoot out some spark particles, and those spark particles don't actually do anything. They're purely visual flair. That's like the intended usage for particle systems in the context of Unity at the very least. Now that doesn't mean you can't use them as actual visual objects, like the visual representation of game objects, but it's definitely less of a standard usage for it. And there's a lot of limitations in that regards as well. But like how we're using the fireball explosion here, this is a really typical usage of it, where my fireball lands and it explodes, and that explosion doesn't actually do anything because it's the initial collision that did the actual that did the damage, right? And you could have like a lingering explosion that does damage. You would probably make one circular hitbox that checks for that damage, which I should probably, use paint. So like I have the fireball and it goes in and it arcs and it lands here, right? And so the first thing that happens is the fireball lands and it does a bunch of AoE damage, right? So anything that's like in this vicinity, it's going to hit. Now, immediately after it lands, it's no longer a traveling fireball anymore. It gets converted into an explosion. And you could have like a base explosion sprite graphic like this. But then what you are very likely to also want to have is like little explosion particles that go flying out of the explosion as well. And so this is typically what you use your particle system for. Now, for me, with my explosion, like the point of having this graphical explosion maybe is to like have a game object where you have like a persisted damage field. So if enemies walk into the explosion after it's exploded, they'll still take damage. With my instance, it doesn't do that. It's just the initial impact and that's it. You can walk into the particles afterwards and it does nothing. I could have a bit of a lingering hitbox. I just don't use that. But these particles are whatever. It's visual flair. It doesn't have any actual gameplay impact, right? Now, I don't have any animated explosion effect, but what I do have is just a crap ton of particles that do that instead. So if we put the fireball spell onto a script here, in fact, I should just leave it up. If we put the fireball spell onto the player, so let's grab the fireball and toss it on. And then hop back over to Unity. It's probably easier to demo it just by, showing, right? So I can throw the fireball, and then it explodes into a bunch of particles, right? But once it's exploded, it's already done. Like theoretically, if an enemy was moving and walked into the explosion afterwards, they wouldn't take damage. Like, that's just a little visual flair I have on the object. And definitely the fireball needs a bit of work. I think it needs to travel a lot faster. Kind of just depends on the scale of the game, but yeah, it's like clearly not moving that fast. And yeah, also while the fireball is traveling, like it has a little flaming trail particle effect too. So there's kind of like two particle systems in play here. Now the Thorn is very similar, and that the Thorn is also made of, in this case, two particle systems. The difference being is that this, like, the fireball just has a solid red circle that I've drawn, which is the actual hitbox component. I could have, like, there is a circle hitbox on this Thorn object. I just don't have a circle that represents the hitbox on it. But otherwise, it's pretty much identical to the fireball. It just obviously travels way different. But we're going to do a very similar thing. And I'll do a similar explosion particle effect as well. But we'll make it bigger. It'll probably be a faster bang as well. And it'll be a bit more, like, sparky if I can make it. I don't know if I can, like, zigzag the particles as they come out, but I'll try to do it if I can. That's kind of more what I want, like an erratic... Because, it's meant to be, like, the combination of fire and electricity, so I kind of don't want it... Like, the fireball is just, like, a fiery explosion. And, like, maybe, ideally, if I could figure out how to alter the particle paths, I want them to, like, wave out in, like, similar to, like, how the, like, this wavy effect of the red particles here, when the fireball hits, ooh, doesn't properly go into the floor here. That's weird. I'll have to check the masking on the floor to see what it has. It is going to the wall correctly, though. Okay. I got sidetracked. Yeah, the fireball is just like a plain red explosion. And it is meant to be like the fire spell, but the Thorn is meant to be like a bit of fire and electricity, which is what this like yellow stream is supposed to represent. Obviously, it doesn't really look like electricity, and I'd probably want to make like maybe more particles that aren't as circular, a bit more elongated would be a bit better, I think, for that. But that's what we've got for now. Anyway, let's figure out why they're getting impaled in the floor. I quickly inspect the platform objects. Let's take a look at the ground. It is tagged as terrain, and the platform object itself is also tagged as terrain. So why are we getting stuck? That's interesting. The ceiling's working properly, notably. Terrain layer ceiling, terrain layer ground, and the whole platform is terrain layer default. If I pull up Visual Studio again, we pop back over. I'm checking for the terrain tag, so it should just destroy the object. Let's just log. Let's just log what the tag is. It's debug.log, isn't it? Debug.log, and we'll print col.collider.tag. Just like this, and we'll see what it's spitting out at us. So if I shoot into the ceiling, I should see the terrain tag for sure. Or if I fire into the wall here, this should definitely fire terrain, which we do see. Probably traveling a little fast. Hit the enemy, it fires the enemy tag. How quick is this? You really can't see it, huh? It's moving like little too fast, eh? Because if you're playing on a higher frame rate, you'd be able to see it a bit better. Now, what happens if I shoot into the ceiling? It is working. And if I shoot into the floor, what's it going to display at me? I don't think it displayed anything, did it? Let me try it again. Untagged is what we're getting. Okay. So why are we getting untagged? Let's hop back to the scene. We have a platform with a terrain tag, and the ground is also terrain tagged. But it's showing untagged at me, which is really weird. Terrain, terrain, terrain. Everything here has a terrain tag, as well as the platform. Another thing I want to check is what happens if I shoot the bottom of this platform. Does the same thing. Interesting. Untagged, untagged. Yeah, very odd. Lots of untags. What's happening with the ground here is the question. Something weird about... I think it shouldn't have anything to do with the platform object itself, because it would be applying to everything if it did. But it's only... like, the ceiling hitbox is working fine. Let me actually go to the correct wall. Yeah, the wall, thanks. Correct platform, I mean. So, our ceiling... maybe it's just because the hitbox is not high enough. Might be underneath. look at the ground hitbox. It looks like it's... Oh, it's definitely above. It is undoubtedly above. Box Collider 2D and ceiling. It's like the same, right? I'm not crazy. Let me pull this down a bit. They look the same to me. The big difference is just that they have different layers. But that really shouldn't be affecting anything here. Scale. Position, rotation, scale. Layer overrides. This would probably be it. No, there's nothing in here for either of them. They're both tagged terrain. Cold.collider.tag. That's just really odd. On collision enter 2D. I should be able to get the game object of the collider. In this case, it should correspond to the ground object. Very strange. What happens if I just re-tag it, make it mana, and then tag it as terrain? And then try and hit it again. Still doesn't want to work. That time it did it. But mostly no. I think it did it before because I want to hit the wall instead. Can I hit the wall from here? Yeah, the wall works. And I assume that... Yeah, that logs terrain. No problem. That's the wall. And the floor is just logging untagged by the looks. Really weird. Logs it twice as well. Whereas these only log once. Even the ceiling's working, right? Like, what the heck? What is wrong with this ground hitbox? Offset, size. Yeah, I don't really care about those. They're fine. Material, info. I don't think there was any layer overrides on it. I think it should matter. The tag is just, it is terrain. What if I tag it as like enemy? Does it work? It should still come up as untagged. Sometimes it doesn't even shoot the untagged. Oh, it came up as enemy there. And then obviously there's no entity for it to work with. Tag it back as terrain. I mean, I noticed that the logs were a little inconsistent. Sometimes it did. Like here, it didn't log anything. That time it worked. Why is it just not logging it sometimes? So I think what's happening here is the circle caster is stopping it. Like the hitbox, the circle caster is stopping it from moving, but it's not in the hitbox right now. If I hop back to the scene, right, and we take a look at this Thorn object, the hitbox for it is right here, and this is below the ground hitbox, I believe. Yeah, see, it's like below, and it's refusing to move any further, but it can't collide with this hitbox now. which is a problem because we need it to collide with the hitbox. So I guess one thing we could be trying to do is try to fix it so that it is actually being transformed to the right spot, because it does look like it is just being transformed past it for whatever reason, weirdly enough. So maybe that's the first thing to do. So that is in the code. Where do we do it? It should be in... It's this bit here where we do the circle casting. So in this case, yeah, this has not been working, and I think it might be due to... So basically we do a circle cast in the direction that we're going. So the origin is the hitbox's position, which is correct. The radius is the hitbox's size divided by 2, which is correct. The direction is the speed vector, which should also be correct. The distance. The distance we want to be the magnitude of the speed vector. I think we can just use speed. I don't even think I have to do the magnitude. So at the end of the day, it is the speed value. So I shouldn't even have to use this. I should just be able to use speed. And then the layer mask is bullet mask. This should probably be... I mean, this doesn't really matter. I just want to rename it, I think. Or just rename it to Thorn Mask. But yeah, it's just saying that it's allowed to collide with wall, ground, and enemy. And maybe this has something to do with it then. Layer mask, get mask. Maybe I just need more layers in this. Wall, ground, enemy. What do we have? We have wall, ground, enemy. We also have ceiling. So it's ignoring ceiling right now. Should be working with ground, though. I'm going to put ceiling on it regardless, because it should be doing that. Obviously quotes that. So wall, ground, enemy, ceiling. I mean, it was working for the ceiling anyway, but it's possible it's because it was going through the platform and hitting the hitbox on the other side. Like, instead of hitting the ceiling hitbox, it was just going through the ceiling and hitting the ground hitbox instead. So what I'm actually interested in is whether or not this code here is working. So the hit, basically if it hits, rather than going by the speed vector, it's trying to go by the distance to the thing we're trying to hit instead. Or its position is moving to that position. Transform.position. And it's possible that this is not... no, it should work fine, right? I mean, as long as the circle cast is matching the hitbox, which I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, the bullets do seem to work correctly. What I can do is that rather than destroying the game object, I can just set speed to 0 here. So, like, what we can do is we can do speed is equal to 0. And then we can see exactly where the projectiles are stopping. And we can do a similar thing over with the pea shooter as well. And we can try even bumping up the... We can try bumping up the speed of the pea shooter. And seeing if it's just due to the fact that we have higher speeds. Although that being said, it's colliding with walls fine. So actually, I'm not going to bother with the pea shooter. But yeah, I'm going to start by just setting the speed of the object to 0 when it makes a collision. So let's start by doing that. Now, otherwise its speed should never reduce. Now, that being said, this is still going to run. I'm just going to see what happens if we go with this first. So let's start by just hitting the wall. Okay, and it even stops in the correct point here, notably. Okay, that time it went through, so it didn't stop in the right spot. Went through again. So it's hitting the other side of the wall here, which is obviously not ideal, not what we want. If I stand, maybe it might be somewhat distance related. In this case, it went through the floor and hit the wall hitbox. Again, went through the floor there. If we try hitting the ceiling, that looks approximately right. It might be going through it a little bit. I actually don't know what that's stopping on. I cannot really tell. Go over to the scene. Maybe I can actually see. Like, what are we stopped on here? Platform 3. With all of these hitboxes. And then this is the Thorn. This, like, shouldn't be stopped. I actually don't know why this is stopped right now. I think the circle casting logic, it must be seeing this platform, and for some reason it's not moving. Would be my guess. What we can see is down here with these ones. These are all... Well, this one's obviously stopped in the correct spot. So the calculation has done pretty much exactly what you'd expect. And then the other ones appear to have been... Like, this one got caught in the back of the hitbox. So... Maybe one thing we can try doing, actually, is that rather than setting the position to exactly the hit distance, we can try adding a little bit as well. So I can do, like, multiplied by, like, by, I don't know, like a fraction, like 1.01 or something. Oh, is the hit dot distance, is it a vector 3? It's a float, right? Oh, it needs me to put in F, doesn't it? I'll try this and see if this makes any difference. I'm kind of not expecting it to, but we'll see. Because an issue we could be having... Yeah, okay, it's still going. My PC is absolutely chugging right now. Don't know what that was all about, but it was whirring. Yeah, we're getting some interesting behavior here, which we probably need to figure out what the hell's going on. So I guess what I want to do... This didn't really do anything. I want to try debugging the distance. So I'm going to in here, go debug.log, and we're just going to spit out the hit.distance. And this is going to throw every frame. But what we should see is that this should approach 0. And eventually it'll just start spitting out only zeros, basically. So console log's going to clear. We're going to try and start by hitting the wall, I guess. Okay, so we're going to collapse all the zeros. We saw one instance of 2.77. Kind of surprised it actually didn't throw more than one. I'll try it again. Yet only ever threw one. That's really strange because clearly the object's traveling for at least a few frames. Which I find very surprising that it's only throwing it once. But then it obviously just starts throwing zeros after that. Now, my first question is, why is it only throwing it once? Should be throwing it more than once. Wall, ground, enemy, ceiling. And actually, I'll reorder this so that ceiling is before enemy. But, that, you know, that doesn't actually make a difference. Okay, it's worth noting that fixed update doesn't actually run every frame. It's just running every fixed update interval. Something I maybe should just try doing is reducing the speed. It might be that 5 is just way too fast. And it's causing issues with my, with the physics engine and whatnot. Or the actual trying to run this. So, okay, I've basically halved the speed, almost. So I would expect to definitely see 2 raycast values now. I still only see 1. First things to note that I think 3 still, you can't really tell that much of a speed difference. I think it's still good. In fact, this time you can see it looks way smoother actually, having the projectiles go that fast. Okay, so, all right. So we're still only seeing 1 raycast. Only 1 hit dot distance, which means what's actually happening is it's just not hitting. It's just not hitting until right before it. Now, is there a distance? Oh, of course. Okay, because this distance shouldn't be speed. It should be infinity. Wait, no, it should... Wait, no, hold on. It should be speed. Wait, of course, that's why it only hits once. Because it waits until it's going to hit. And then it stops. Yeah, wait, that's obvious. Derp. And then it thinks whenever they pause that the distance for the raycast is 0. So where are we actually... I'm curious where this is starting from. Hitbox is the Circle Collider 2D's transform position. Which I would hope... Let me quickly check this in the editor. I would hope that's the right spot. So let's take a look at this. Pull the scene up, look at the Thorn. Now what was it? It was the Circle Collider 2D. The transform position of the Circle Collider 2D, I hope is not this. I'm hoping it's this. And we can see it's still reasonably close to the hitbox. The circle casting might be picking up this hitbox here. If I hop back into the game real fast, and if I went onto this wall, yeah, we can see that they're stopping pretty consistently. I think it's getting caught on one side of the hitbox or the other. So in this case, this ground, it's been caught on the bottom side of the hitbox. This one on my right has phased completely through the left wall. It's just ignored it and got caught on the right side of the right wall. So one thing we can try doing here is increasing the speed value a little bit. The speed is theoretically where the Thorn is going to move, or where the hitbox of the Thorn is going to move in the next frame. Theoretically is the case. Because this speed vector is the direction, but this is also where it's going. The speed vector is where we're going to put it. Now, the speed should be the actual distance that it's traveling. The speed vector should just be that on an angle. If I did the math right. Which I think I did. It looks correct. Just in-game, it looks correct. However, it doesn't appear to be playing with this circle casting particularly kindly. So what would happen if I did speed x2? Now what I would expect to see here is that it's consistently hitting the correct side of the walls and whatnot. However, what we're more likely to see is that it'll do like a snap to the object. Still went through. Still went through. It's snapping past it. Interesting that that is how the... Okay. What happens if I really lower the speed? Like if I make the speed 0.5, is it still gonna have issues? And then let me reduce this back to normal, because that actually didn't do anything, surprisingly. So now we have a really slow moving Thorn. I mean, I say slow, it's like kind of fast. Stops correctly. Stops correctly. So it does appear to be an issue. It looks like it's just an issue with the speed. Like it's going too fast. I should reduce the mana cost off this while I'm testing. That kind of went through. Still. Like, that's definitely still going through the floor. There, that time it stopped properly. Stopped properly there. But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it is actually just going through it. Like there, it just went straight through. Like, basically if I just... Oh. That is, my league client being left open. Whoops. We have closed out of that. It looks like it's somewhat based off the angle. Like, just this angle is, like, consistently going through. I've got so many of these impaled on the floor now. Just flooding the game with particle effects. Oh, up here it didn't, though. Interesting. What about up here as well? I so need to remove the mana thing. Okay, went into the floor there. I wonder if this was just like a freak accident. No, that floor seems to be fine. What the heck? There it went in. Should have to jump out of bounds, honestly. Oh, you can? What the heck? Since when? Why can you jump out of bounds? That shouldn't be the case. Sometimes you can kind of like moonwalk too. That's crazy. Fire. Yeah, where like it's going through. It's like the circle cast isn't working properly. I don't really know. Because, like, obviously the circle cast is always eventually hitting. And then it's just returning zeros at some point. But how come sometimes it hits on the right side? Sometimes it hits on the correct side of the hitbox, and sometimes it doesn't. Which is a bit strange. And it seems to be a lot more consistent when the speed is slower, by the looks. I bet if I made the speed 0.1, we would see very high consistency. I would have to imagine. Because at this point, like, every frame, it's not like, yeah, I think there's, like, no room for it to go through now. It's just way too slow. So it's gonna hit it, like, guaranteed, basically. The issue is when the speed is gonna have it skip over the hitbox, and that's why I have that circle casting code there. As a way to be like, hey, don't skip over the hitbox, that's bad. We don't want that. I'm going to swap it back to 2. And I'm going to reduce the mana cost of this spell because it's driving me nuts. Let me set the mana cost to 10. I could just give it no mana cost, honestly. That'd be another option. So this circle cast, it doesn't like hitbox.transformed.position. I'd be curious what this is as well, actually. So let's try logging this value. Debating if I want to log anything else, but I think that's fine. The distance is always correct, right? It's always the speed. I mean, if I've done my trig right, it should be correct. And the speed vector is just the direction we're traveling in. I wonder if I have to normalize this. I wonder. I'll try that afterwards, actually. Let me just make sure that this is working. I'll try normalizing the speed vector, though, and we'll see if it works. So this should be... It's going at 2 speed now. Pretty fast still. And actually, what I need to do is delete these Thorn objects and then clear this. So I want to see... what happens. Boom. Okay. So this... Let's hop over to the scene now, right? It's spitting out negative 8.14, negative 1.31. And what I'm hoping is that that corresponds to this value here. And it looks like it's corresponding to this value instead. Why is this just... Oh, because I made this the pivot point. See, here's the issue, I think, which is that the circle collider is not actually at the center of the hitbox. I think this is the main reason we're seeing issues. This still isn't inside a wall, so I don't know why it's stopping here. However, it would explain... Like, this is definitely where these numbers are coming from. Which means it's definitely spitting out that position. Yeah, I will say, though, it is strange, then, that sometimes it does stop at the right spot. Because that would imply that it is actually working. So there's kind of just weird stuff happening here no matter what. I'm going to try normalizing it. We're going to try that first. I think this is like the direction, though, I don't think should take into account. I think it shouldn't matter. But I'll try normalizing it. We'll see. Throw a spear at the wall. Looks like it did the exact same thing. Yeah, I don't think normalize. Yeah, okay. So like here, right, this is a pretty good example, yeah. This Thorn right here, which is at position negative 6.62, negative 1.48. This has stopped exactly where I would expect it to, which is this hitbox against this wall, right? It's a little out, but I think it's a pretty much correct. I'd have to go to the wall, whichever one it is, this. And then, yeah, they're off a bit, but I guess this is registering as a collision. There's probably some room for leeway there with the rigid bodies. My PC really doesn't like the particle effects, I don't think. I don't know. Very strange. Now, what were we thinking? Like, my transform position is here, and this implies that that's where... Because I'm logging this, right? Which is the origin, which is here. which implies that this is where the circle cast is firing from. Also implies that we're shooting out zeros, which doesn't make any sense to me, because the hit dot distance should definitely not be 0 from this point. Should be much further than that. Hitbox.bounds.size.x. So here's another theory, which is that this value is the size of the entire thing, potentially. But I say the entire thing, like, I mean, it could only be getting the size of this. I mean, it's pulling from a circle collider, right? Hitbox to transform the position. The transform attached to this game object. The world space bounding area of the collider. Total size of the box is always twice as large as the extents. X component of the vector. Okay, I'm gonna pause the game sim. I'm actually gonna check if there's a radius. Yeah, there totally is. Okay, good on me. Of course, there's a radius, which I should be using. Okay, I don't think. Well, actually, now I don't divide it by 2. It's just hitbox.radius. Radius of the circle. Yes, obviously that's what I should be using. Hitbox.transform.position. So the radius is the size of the circle that we're casting. Hitbox. So you've got to get components circle collider. But I think, yeah, this position is not what I want. I want to get the position of the circle collider. I'm going to do a little digging online. Get the transform of a collider in Unity. I think this is the opposite of what I want. Convert the collider to a game object, then to a transform. Can I convert the collider to a game object? This is a circle collider 2D. This Unity forum is not very helpful, the one I'm looking at. How can I get the position of collider? Vector 3, collider point ion. Equals hit.collider.transform.position. Doesn't look like, okay. I mean, definitely what I'm seeing is that this value is logging the position of the parent game object, which is, in this case, the Thorn, not the hitbox. Not the collider hitbox, which is what I actually need. Is there a way to use a collider transform rather than an object? I'm using character controller and I have 10 different bounce cube objects that all have triggers, and when my player interacts with them, my first player rotates, yada yada. So if I have my... But since I'm using on trigger enter, is there a way to use the colliders that I only create 10 plus more transforms? I need to store the objects I collided with and then use its information to do the specific movement that I want. Okay, I mean, so, like, let's try. Let's see what happens if I go into the Thorn object, right? Just here. Let's look at the actual offset of the collider. It's -1. So, I mean, let's just try that then. The offset's -1, so that's the position of it, right? I need to get that position, which is going to be equal to the speed vector times 5 instead. Oh, times 1 instead, sorry. Oh, actually, if it's -1, it's like pretty straightforward then, no? Okay, hold on. Figuring this out. So, times speed times speed. Well, maybe I should get the, I could multiply these by speed instead. Yeah, I'll try that, actually. So we'll just get the x and the y here, and then we'll take this -x times speed, and this be -y times speed. And then what I can also do is I can make a new vector 2 here, or a new vector 3 in this case. In fact, I think I can just pass in a vector 2 and it'll work. And then it'll convert for me. And I pass in -x. And in this case, it's just -1. So I can just pass in -x, -y. And this position should be the position... Oh, hold on. It needs to be the position of our object. So shit. Hitbox dot transform dot position, and then we need to add this new vector 2. Just vector 3 then, whatever. I can do vector 3 with two inputs. Okay, that just works. -x, -y. And that should give me the position that I actually want, I think. Unless I'm dumb and I wasn't looking at this properly. I'm going to just see what this does. I could just be dumb, though. Would not be a first. I mean, that stopped. Oh! Okay, I think I just did it. Okay, I've just done it. Alright. Well, I was absolutely not expecting to just get it to work, but we've gotten it to work. So here's the issue, right? There's probably a better way for me to do this. The reason this works as tidily as it does is because the value that I'm using, the offset of the hitbox from the center of the transform, is exactly -1, which means it's purely these xy values in the direction that I'm going, which in this case is the -x, -y. So I can just use that. Now, before I was also using, for the distance we're traveling, it's an additional 5 in that direction. Or an additional 4 on top of the 1. We're not traveling to the hitbox, so we're traveling 4 times or 5 times the hitbox distance from the origin. Okay, so yeah, if I were using values that wasn't, if I was using a more difficult offset, I couldn't do it this simply, and it would cause issues for sure. I mean, would it be that hard though? To get the transform position, you kind of have to get, like, you just need to get the rotation of the object and then the offset, and then just, well, you don't multiply it, but you do some math there and get it. In this case, I've done the math to get the speed, and I can just, coincidentally, I can use the exact same math here for the offset. Another option is that I figure out a different way to pivot to rotate the object, but I don't think I can. Not easily, anyway. Like, okay, so, like, this is kind of all stemming from the fact that I want to be able to rotate the Thorn not around the center of it. It's pivoting around, like, a quarter of the way into the object, which is intentional. That's what I want. But it means that the hitbox of the Thorn is no longer at the center of the object, because the center of the object is the rotational pivot point. Okay. Anyway, we're just gonna move on. Let's get this explosion working, and then I can call it a night. So we're gonna go back into the Thorn object. We're gonna get rid of this stuff now, because now we should just be able to destroy it, and it should be colliding properly at this point. Shouldn't be, like, zipping through the object. I still don't really know why it was working like it was. I would have thought it would just pass straight through the object. For some reason, it wasn't doing that. But now, yeah, we should see it. It's actually vanishing in the correct spots now, which is good. That Thorn is probably going off into infinity and beyond, which is fine. Yeah. What we're going to actually see is that we're not actually getting the frame where it has the, where it hits the thing before it explodes at the moment. So we could have it wait a frame, and so the first frame is it actually hitting the object, and then it blows up. So we could add that in if we wanted to, and, like, that's pretty simple. You just, in the on collider thing, you just check, have we collided this frame? If so, if it's the first time we're colliding, just wait one frame and do it on the next frame. Because it's not going to move. It's going to stay in the same spot because of this code. So we could do that. Otherwise, you're going to have, like, a little bit of a weird delay, but, like, maybe you want that, right? Anyway, once we add the explosion, it's not really going to matter. So we're going to try and do that next. So we're going to go into the fireball code. We are instantiating particle system. I'm going to yoink all of this. Come back into here, and we'll dump it here. So, instantiate explosion. In this case, we can probably just copy this for now. We'll copy this one, and then we'll swap it to a different one afterwards. So, game object explosion, we're going to load this in from the particles. Like this. Game object fireball explosion. So the Thorn's just going to use, with this code, the Thorn uses the exact same explosion the fireball does. I do have to spawn it in at a different position. So instantiate vector 3. We don't need to be giving it a Z, first of all. The X and the Y are going to equal whatever this is. So we can just copy this, actually. Like so. And then we can get rid of this bit. Oh, I don't have a concept of neg X, neg Y here. I'll just declare them then. Private X. Float. Private. Oh, why did it not like this? Oh, because float X, dumbass. Private float Y. And let's just get rid of the vase here, shall we? And then I'll just comment direction of Thorn. Okay, and then we can use the X and the Y here, and that should work properly, and it's going to instantiate at the right spot. So if we don't add this new vector 3 thing in, it will spawn at the center of the game object, which is not what we want. It's the same thing with collision. We were doing the circle class in the wrong position. So we're going to try this, and let's just go back to Unity, see if this works. So this should create the fireball explosion, and then we can make a new one. Yeah, so it is doing exactly that. It even looks pretty good, honestly. Actually, like, not even upset with how that looks. It's kind of, it's kind of satisfying, I'll be honest. Okay, it's not exploding. Oh, because I didn't copy it into the enemy script. I should probably do that as well. Create and destroy the, where is, oh, you can pass in a duration on the destroy function. Interesting. We're going to destroy the explosion particle system. And then we're just going to copy all this, dump it down here. Boop, boop, boop. Worth noting, right, that if we want the explosion radius to be bigger, then I have to actually adjust the hitbox. So probably what I would need to do rather than this is create a separate explosion object, and that object on creation checks everything inside of it. And that would probably actually have the particle system attached to it. Is probably the way. Because what this is going to do is, even if I make like a big particle system, which I want to do right now actually, which we're going to try and do. So I'm going to do Thorn explosion here instead. The issue is going to be that it's not actually going to pick up all the enemies in the AoE. Like if I make it this huge AoE that hits all 3 of these enemies with the particles, it still won't look like that, unfortunately. Alright, so it won't actually hit them. It'll only hit according to the tiny hitbox in the Thorn. So I'd have to, I mean, there's multiple ways we can adjust that. But yeah, anyway, let's just take a look at this. I think maybe we would just change the size of the hitbox. That might be an easier way than actually trying to create a new object. But I'd probably think about it. It might just be easy to instantiate a new object that has the explosion particle system attached. Regardless, let's create this new particle system. So we're gonna base it off the fireball explosion, but we're gonna make some additions to it. So we have fireball explosion 1, which we want to get rid of and call it Thorn explosion. And let's open this up in the editor. So if I play this on loop, where's the loop button? Play, restart, stop, playback speed, playback time. How do I loop it? Am I dumb? If I just click play. Oh, it's because it doesn't loop by default. Yeah, okay, that's fine. All right, so what I want to do... Oh, wait, the explosion itself... No, it doesn't have a hitbox. Can you give it a hitbox? No, you can't. It's just a particle system. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we're going to make it way bigger. That's step 1. Where is all my options of the part? Oh, it does have a circle collider. Oh, it really does. Huh. I need to look into this more. How do I... Particle system... Okay, I can scroll down like this. Particle system curves. Do I care about this? I'm just gonna drop it. What happens if I go to like the color? Yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't know why. Is this different at all? I think that's just solid red, right? I should have just used start color instead of color over lifetime. Anyway. So if I click play, it's just blasting a whole bunch of particles really fast. And I kind of want to do the same thing, but I want to make it bigger. So in that case, we want the lifetime to be longer. What's the second value here? Is it like variable lifetime? It's interesting. I should try messing around with that on the other one as well, actually. We're gonna do like 0.3, so 0.45. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I want a little more speed to it. Although speed's gonna... Okay. So actually, maybe the lifetime is good. But what I actually want is the speed to be faster, because that'll increase the size of the explosion. So we go emission... No, that's how many particles. Which, isn't it being capped anyway? There's a cap on the... Oh, I've put the cap pretty high. Okay, fair enough. Where's speed? Velocity. I just want start velocity. Start speed, 30. So if I make it 60, it should go twice as far, right? Let's make it even more than that. Let's go like double that again. And let's go like 100. Okay, and then we need way more emissions. So we're gonna like double. We're gonna start by just doubling the emissions. See how that looks. And then, like, I think it'd be cool to have, like, a separate particle system that's, like, firing off lightning bolts inside of that as well. Probably want to bump this up just a bit more. 30,000, maybe. I just don't want to see all the green, all the... It's kind of, like, hard to tell how that's going to look. It looks decent, though, I think. I think I'm happy with that. And then I kind of want to try adding... Well, I guess you're just layering the particle systems at that point, though. It's just a completely separate particle system. Let's just try it like this and see what it looks like. I should be able to just run it because I've already updated the name. I think it's not enough particles. Or actually, you know what? It's the particle size probably that I have to update. It's got the burn effect on it. Yeah, I'd have to take a closer look. It is definitely based on this hitbox, though, that's popping out. I wonder, is there a script on this as well? Explosion script. There totally is. So I could actually... So the particle system itself has a script on it. So rather than having it do impact damage of whatever I had it set to, so where in fact, yeah, the fireball does have an input has an impact damage of 10, but if I wanted, like, this is only the one object that it hits, right? Whereas if I wanted the Thorn to do impact damage to everything in radius, I could remove it out of here and I could add it into the explosion script, and I could make a separate explosion script for the Thorn explosion. And then this circle collider is clearly what's triggering it. And in fact, what I should be doing is... If I could... Oh, wait, I want to pause it. Pause it. Yeah, okay. I should be trying to get this circle collider to match the size of these particles. Oh, good on me. Try that again. Because that's the actual size. And so in this case, it's not gonna do impact damage, but it will affect the it will affect the burn radius, so where it starts burning enemies. So I can set it to like there. And I feel like I just need to make the particles a little bigger in this one. Where's size? Start size, maybe like 1.5. I go 2. And play. Yeah, I think that looks a little better. Okay, and now if I like throw the Thorn at one of these guys, it should at least splash into the middle one. Yeah, it does. Oh, did it hit them both for 10 there? I swear it did, right? It totally did. How is that working? I should look at what's actually in the explosion script probably, huh? Particles, explosion, take damage 10. Oh, okay. So the fireball does like 2 instances then. It's doing 2 instances of 10. It's doing the impact 10 and then it does the explosion 10. That's interesting. It probably shouldn't do the impact 10, but yeah, okay. The Thorn's working. And then what I want to do is I would like want to do like little lightning bolt things that appear over the top as well as additional particles. But, you know, we've got that working now. You can run around and shoot projectiles. The last thing would be to make it so that you can't just tap the button. You do have to channel it. I'm kind of... We could set that up. It wouldn't take long. Let me see if I can do this really quick. So in the Thorn... No, it's not in the Thorn projectile. It's in the Thorn spell. So in the Thorn, when we're channeling it, at the point in which we let go, so we can angle it. That's fine. I don't want to change that. It's when I let go of it. When does it actually fire? Here. Thorn instance that yeah, so this is where I'm letting go. But what I actually need to be doing is checking. I need to have a counter, basically. So how do I want to set this up? Basically, there's a counter. Let's just do private int count. And we're going to set this count to 0 when we try to execute a spell. So we're just going to say count equals 0. So when we go to execute, we're just going to make sure the count's been reset. Now, if we're channeling, the first thing we want to do is just count ++. Now, the amount of times we do fixed update per second is 100. So if we want to make it so that you have to charge for 5 seconds, probably too long. I think 3. Well, it's really how long it takes the Thorn projectile to happen, which is probably actually not that crazy. I think it's about 2 seconds probably. So again, it's 50 times a second. So I actually want to do an else if here, in which I check is count greater than 100, which is 2 seconds, and then in that case we fire the Thorn, right? If it's not greater than it, we actually want to. Okay, so we restore player state and fire. Okay, I'm gonna do this. And fire Thorn. So we'll say spell is ready. Restore player state and fire Thorn. Otherwise, player is not ready. Restore player state and delete Thorn. And in this case, we want to do Thorn inst dot. It's not delete. What is it? It's dot something or other. Thorn inst dot something. How do you delete a game object? I should just go back to the fireball. Oh, it's destroy. Okay, there's a separate Unity function called destroy Thorn inst, like so. Okay, and then that'll get rid of the existing one. Now, theoretically, this should be on a 2-second delay, which I think is about right. I haven't timed how long the particle effects take. But if I just tap the key now, it should delete the object. And it does. Lovely. 0. Okay. I want to see... Oh, it's got to be longer than 2 seconds. I mean, it's kind of okay, actually. And then what I'd really want is like an additional... There's got to be like a way for you to know that it's ready. But I guess for like particle effects, it doesn't really matter that much. If I was like actually drawing an actual sprite for this, it would like flash and glow when it was like ready, when it's been charged and it's ready to fire. And also if you cancel it early, it shouldn't just vanish out of existence. It should like, you know, have some animation for like canceling. But of course we're not doing any of that. But hey, we've pretty much wrapped up this Thorn spell and we fixed a whole bunch of collision problems as well. Learned a bit about the fact that despite the fact that you're getting your hitbox, you're getting the value of your hitbox and getting the transform that's assigned for hitbox, this transform corresponds to the game object, not to the position of the hitbox, which is hella dumb. Why is it like that? I do not know. The transform attached to this game object. Well, as it turns out, oh, I wonder if I can do hitbox. Hold on. Really quick. Plus hitbox.offset. Oh, there is an offset. It does. Okay, they do just have that. Now, the thing is, the offset's gonna just be -1, I think. The local offset of the collider geometry. Now, yeah, the problem is I would still have to rotate. I would still have to figure out what this position is. I couldn't just do it like this. Because this is gonna give me the -1, 0. Which basically means I wouldn't have to use the speed value. But I'd still have to figure out where that position is. But okay, there's like a bit more of there's a bit cleaner way you can do it. Anyway, that like, you know, makes sense. Okay, I'm happy. Like we got the Thorn spell to a point in which you know, it looks decent. 2 seconds maybe a little too long for charging, but it's like fine. Oh, actually, okay, one last thing. I'm going to just extend this daily just a little longer because I didn't know about this part of, yeah, random between 2 constants. Did not know that these drop downs, you could adjust this. That's actually very cool. So I'm going to go into the actual Thorn object and we're going to adjust these particle systems to also do that. So I think I can leave this one as is. I think that looks fine, but the bolt definitely needs to be randomized. So, start lifetime is going to be random between 2 constants, and it's going to be 1 to 1.1. Okay, actually it'll be 0.9 to 1.1 to 1. Already, it looks so much better. Like, it's insane. Like, look at how much nicer that looks. In fact, I might even change it to 0.8. Oh, it looks it looks so much better, actually. Awesome. And then what I might do is on the spiral, I'm not going to change the lifetime, but I might change the speed. Random between 2 constants. And then I'd make it like 4.8 and 5.2. So like it's still got the vortexy look, but it's just a bit more Just a bit more random, which I think looks way better. I think it just looks like much cleaner. It kind of like disperses more as it gets further out. Like towards the end, it's like really spread, whereas the start, it's like still pretty tight. Is there anything else that's worth like kind of waving a little bit? I think I want to tighten it just a little. I think I might make it 4.9, 5.1. Just tighten it a little bit. Yeah, I think it looks a little better like that. Lifetime, start delay, start size. Oh, you can like give it modular size in the particles too. I kind of want to like stretch these particles. I think I would just have to get the where is this? So this is the actual thing it's using. Actually, I don't know where it gets that from. I want to like change the shape of the particles themselves, not the shape of the emitter, but the shape of the particles. I'd have to like look through it again. Must be in here somewhere, right? Duration, looping. I mean, it's this object. I just don't know where that is. I'm sure it's like in here somewhere. Oh, it's this thing. Yeah, okay. It's the renderer material. Let's head back. It's this thing, but I don't know how you adjust it. Default particle system material. I'd like want this, but like have it be stretched, basically, is more what I'm interested in. Well, actually, I'm already doing that. I'm doing that in the thundercloud. Like, look at these particles. Those are stretched. Oh, no, they're not stretched. They just leave trails. I see. And then they disappear. I wonder if you give the trails a lifetime as well. Sprite default material. This must be the trail material I'm using. Trails, yeah. And then where am I giving it? The mode particles, blah, 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 blah. Texture mode, stretch. Yeah, I didn't really mess around with this that much, but I could probably look into it. Anyway, probably more for another time. You can mess around. There's like so much you can do messing around in this particle system. Like if you really mess around with it a bunch, you can get some like pretty nice looking things. But I'm not quite that much of a wizard. Like ideally, right, for like this kind of thunder stuff, I'd want it to like zigzag a little bit, but I kind of have no idea how to do that. Probably can. I wonder if I can do it in the... Anyway, I'm gonna stop because otherwise I will just be here forever. Also, Okay, I think I didn't show the end, so I'll just show it. I mean, I was looking at the thundercloud now. I adjusted the Thorn. That was really dumb. Well, here we go. This is what it looks like now. I wasn't showing it. Whoopsie days. But yeah, we made the tail like a more variable lifetime, and then the wave is also a little bit random in terms of the speed. So it looks a little more dissolved towards the back end of it. That's basically what we did. That's what I was doing over the past 10 minutes. With the wrong scene up. Okay. All right. Well, with that, I think I'm going to call it for the daily. I think I got a pretty good amount done today, so I'm pretty happy with it. Yes. Next time, another spell, perhaps? I might do the lightning bolt spell. Start working on that. Alternatively, maybe just do some level design. Could start trying to do some of that as well. I don't know. I'm kind of undecided. I'll go in tomorrow and just figure out what I want to do. But I'm gonna call it here for tonight. So thanks everybody who stopped by for tuning in, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Have a good one.